Hello everyone, I'm Randy Suarez, aka Silvercoat. Today we're back here with another reaction. This time, first time on this channel reacting any news, and it is the video of the biggest flexes in Isekai. If y'all may know about me, if a little bit, I am a big fan of Isekai, but even though I do say there's sometimes Isekai do take things a little bit too weird and too far, but that's neither here or there. So, if you like any of this content, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Like and comment and subscribe to any news. I will leave the original link to this video down below in the description to go watch it uninterrupted. So, further ado, buckle up and let's get started.
Isekai is kind of like the League of Legends of anime.
True.
It feels a bit wrong to keep consuming it day after day, yet we keep going back in hopes of finding that quality entertainment we experienced 5 or 6 seasons ago. It's that one love-hate relationship we just can't get rid of. I don't know what it is exactly that makes me such a sucker for it, but if I had to narrow it down to one single thing, then I would probably have to say the satisfaction that stems from a proper flex. I mean...
True. Hold on. Let me go back to the... Yeah.
It's just so much fun when an OP protagonist reveals just how powerful they are. And it's those unrivaled that stems from a proper flex.
Okay. Flex. To purposely show off in a non-humble way. Which is true. Which is very true. Not just simply in Isekai, but in real life. And it's just flexing. And here's the thing. It's not simply just the OP power. Sometimes it's the world building.
I mean, it's just so much fun when an OP protagonist reveals just how powerful they are. And it's those unrivaled moments of pure entertainment that I really want to share with you in this video here. But rather than just showcase the scenes and talk about how epic they were, in order to ensure the full extent of the flex is understood, I'll also share how it was portrayed in the novels. You know, just for that extra bit of context. It would be a shame.
See, I realize nowadays when it comes to watching anime and reading the light novels, to certain ones, and also reading the manga, they leave a lot of stuff out in the shows. I mean, you take that time I reincarnated as a slime, Overlord, and the Rise of Shihiro, for example. The manga and the light novels are a lot more gruesome. But if they show that in the shows, I guess it might leave some scars and fears in people's life. Which I'll say, hey, keep some of it though. Like, seriously.
To not experience these iconic moments the way the person who created them intended them to be. So, as I follow in the footsteps of our Lord and Savior Nux, here's my take on the biggest flexes in Isekai. Let's start things off with a slightly more obscure moment. A flex not from a single character or OP protagonist, but instead a display of power from an entire army. That's right. I'm talking about a scene from one of my personal...
Oh yeah, Gate!
For those...
I'm still waiting for Season 3. I already caught up with the manga too as well, so I am definitely waiting for Season 3.
Who've come to my streams, you'll know this to be up here not because the plot is anything too special, but instead because the whole aspect of modern meets medieval is just so damn entertaining.
I lost many accounts I watched Season 1 and 2 of Gate. I lost many. Same thing with Shield here. I lost so many accounts how many times I rewatched it. It's that damn good. And I'm just waiting in the manga that the prince is getting his upcomings, because he deserves it, like, to the max. Because he clearly doesn't know what he's doing. He's clearly a freaking idiot who on a power trip. That is it. That's what he is.
Imagine if the modern armies of today were to face off against the imperial armies of ancient Rome. They may have been the most powerful state in the world at the time, but no amount of numbers would offset the difference in technological advancement. So, in a world where no army could even compete with the might of Rome's, what do you think would happen if a mysterious foe significantly smaller suddenly showed up right in their territory? That's pretty much what we're dealing with here. A gate had opened up right in the heart of Japan, and through that gate emerged monsters and the forces of the imperial capital controlling them. Once those forces were eliminated and pushed back, It was only natural Japan respond with an army of their own.
See, and this is one of the reasons why I am saying that. How can I put this? They were upset that they took over their that part of their world based on the hill. But you literally came into their world and disrupt order, killing innocents, kidnapping innocents, and expect nothing to happen. That's the dumbest thing you cannot. Okay, to put it bluntly, they got their clap back in more ways than one. To show, hey, you fuck with us, you gonna fuck around and find out.
Small battalion comprised of our main character and the JSDF task force accompanying him, whose job was to go beyond the gate and to perform recon into the special region these attackers appeared from. So, with infantry, tanks, and APCs, the JSDF would make light work out of the Imperial Army currently holding the gate, then proceed to take control of the entire area surrounding it, wiping out 60% of the Empire's forces in only a matter of days. That may sound like a flex all on its own, but the true flex actually comes from the Empire's response to it, or more so Japan's response to that response. With 60% of their army now gone, the Empire decided it would attack with its vassal states now. A joint alliance consisting of over 21 nations who, when gathered together, would create a force numbering in the hundreds of thousands. What this coalition thought to be a battle for their very continent, though, was in fact nothing more than a glorified slaughter. A one-sided carnage that could only be described as a mass suicide. You see, because the Empire never gave any intel on the enemy the coalition would be facing, the Alliance just assumed they would automatically win because of their far superior numbers.
So a mass suicide is an understatement. The Emperor basically signed them up as he thought he could, which technically he can, for their own slaughter. To get basically someone even gather intel. It's like you just putting lambs to a slaughter just for giggles.
When they had initiated that first assault, though, the vanguard, which consisted of over 10,000 men, was instantly wiped out by a barrage of artillery. Explosive shells rained down and obliterated any person within a certain distance to their base. This wasn't just for the sake of defending their ground, though, but was in fact a show of power intended to utterly destroy the enemy.
Still one of my favorite parts when the first lieutenant just beat the shit out of the Brents.
It was a flex in the truest sense of the word. An oppressive display with the sole purpose of showing the Empire exactly what they were dealing with. A message made loud and clear through the eviscerated bodies of the dead. Any enemy to enter into this designated kill zone would instantly and ruthlessly meet the same fate as all those other soldiers. Now, just because the vanguard was obliterated, didn't mean the coalition was done there. 2 more offensives would be attempted before reaching absolute annihilation. The second was another upfront charge with 4 times the troops, but no matter how many they tried to attack with, their lack of range made getting close incredibly futile. Even their dragon riders were shredded by whatever anti-air the JSDF were equipped with. When we finally get to that third ambush at night, despite the idea being practical for the time, the use of flares made whatever movements they were making clear as day. Their assumption the enemy would be careless or off guard was a mistake that would end up being their last. So, as the remaining troops snuck their way towards the enemy, the only thing they would be greeted with was a coordinated volley of bullets. It was a relentless barrage of fire the Empire could only perceive as magic. So, I know this isn't your typical flex of a single person doing OP things, but
it's basically a flex of, basically, you mess with the wrong world, and they show you what they can really do. It's basically, it's a response of you attacking their innocents, kidnapping their people. And again, back to what I said, you expect them to not do nothing when they clearly going to do something. Just because you losing and you don't like it, does not mean you didn't deserve it.
This and a lot of the other scenes in Gate remain some of my favorite in any Isekai.
Same.
It just takes the whole, oh, you underestimate our power to a scale we've never actually seen before.
Which is towards the end of season 2, Itami said, Hey, no matter where you can take a piss, we're always watching. Pause, but still.
It's the way it portrays that with the true application of modern day knowledge that just makes it so entertaining and fascinating. Now, to switch to something a bit more classic, this next flex is what I believe to be the gold standard of the very act of flexing. It's a scene I'm sure you're all familiar with and deals with a character whose sole purpose is to flex in the most overpowering way possible. That's right, I'm talking about Sid's 2-on-1 against Beatrix and Iris in episode 20 of Eminence in Shadow.
Oh, okay. I still have not checked out this anime. I still need to, but I don't care about spoilers. But still, I got told specifically to check this out, especially because of this part. Well, yeah, I guess he's about to explain.
Not only was he facing two of the kingdom's most skilled and renowned swordswomen, but the entire thing was essentially child's play for him. It was a fight that truly set the scope of just how powerful he is. Before we get to the scene where this flex occurs, though, I'm sure there are some of you who haven't yet had the pleasure of watching this gem yet. So, to sum things up in a couple of sentences, Sid is a high school student who, when reincarnated, can finally achieve his wish of becoming the Eminence in Shadow. What is this Eminence in Shadow, you may ask? Well, that would be a person who appears like a minor character in public, but in actuality is this grand mastermind pulling all the strings in secret. He orchestrates all these amazing schemes, then only reveals himself at the point that he determines coolest. After which he always proceeds to annihilate whoever it is in the most badass way possible. So, with Sid having just gone through this massive battle tournament solely for the purpose of checking off a trope on his bucket list, he creates the identity of Mundane Man, then proceeds to advance the rounds all the way to the semis where a single strike was all it took to defeat the kingdom's strongest swordswoman. Which, if not for the scenes to come after, would have definitely been the flex of choice since that too was incredibly epic. In fact, pretty much every fight Mundane Man took part in was an inconceivable show of force intended to highlight just how overpowering he was. But despite how oppressive such well-planned flexes were, he wasn't done there as a certain situation required the attention of his true identity. So, after exposing himself as the wanted criminal Shadow, Sid would be faced once again by that same swordswoman he just defeated, as well as the world-renowned goddess of war, Beatrix. She's not actually a goddess, but as a warrior deemed one of the strongest swordswomen in the world, she's definitely no pushover either. Well, at least not when fighting against anyone other than Shadow anyway. Now, while
wait, what did I say? Go back.
She's not actually a goddess, but as a warrior deemed one of the strongest swordswomen in the world, she's definitely no pushover either. Well, at least not when fighting against anyone other than Shadow anyway.
And this is when she knew she.
Now, while the anime extended this fight 10 minutes longer than it should have been, the real flex comes from the climactic moment at the end of it. You see, as soon as both swordswomen realized neither could win on their own, they decided to put it all on the line and try one last tactic together against him. Iris would sacrifice her own body to immobilize Shadow, while Beatrix would jump in and deliver the finishing blow on him. What neither had come to realize, though, was that Shadow's specialty in close quarters combat had made seeing through their plan extremely simple. Their unpolished movements and lack of finesse placed them miles behind the refined perfection of Sid's movements. So, as he countered with the exact same attack they tried to use against him, both would be defeated in a humiliating manner unlike anything.
While she stands up and she's on all fours, face down, ass up. Don't finish it.
Where Sid takes this flex to the next level is the absolute disregard he showed for either of them after. In fact, I would even go so far as to call the whole thing just plain disrespectful. You see, while both swordswomen still wanted to continue fighting, Sid was done playing with what was essentially toys to him. The only reason he had even turned around to confront them once more was simply because one of them had asked if he was running away. And that was a question that misunderstood everything Sid's Eminence in Shadow title stood for. They were words that clearly didn't understand yet the force of nature she'd been fighting with. So, as Sid could only laugh at such a ridiculous prospect, he would then hit her with the coldest set of lines I've ever heard in an anime, following it up with a torrent of magic so large that the two in front of him couldn't even fathom just how outmatched they were in terms of power. Like, the man had literally made it seem as if he was about to nuke the capital, all because someone asked him if he was running away. If that isn't one of the biggest flexes in Isekai, then I'd love to know which moments you consider to be better. For me, this will always be one of the best just because of how high quality the anime made it. It's one of the rare cases where the anime actually expands on the events of the novels. Switching back to an isekai a little
Tanya
less
the
talked
evil?
about, the scene we have next comes from Yojo Senki. The Battle of Rhine from...
Yeah, that little girl is a fucking hellspawn on crack.
Episode 1, in which Tanya is tasked with saving a company of artillery scouts. Before we get to the flex from that though, if you're unfamiliar with this World War I inspired isekai, it's essentially a salaryman who reincarnates as an orphaned girl into an alternate version of Imperial Germany. The war takes place within the 1920s, and magic has been deeply incorporated into core aspects of the military, making those who are gifted with it quite valuable assets on the battlefield. So, when Tanya is found to possess a high aptitude for this magic, she decides to accept her inevitable conscription and volunteers to enlist in hopes she can rise the ranks fast enough to become an elite who can completely avoid battle, bringing us to one of her missions as a lieutenant. With an allied company being pinned by enemy mages, Tanya and her single platoon would be tasked with rescuing them, leading us...
Yeah, that little girl is just a... Yeah. Oh, the whole ass demon! Let's put it that way. Whole ass demon, yeah.
to this epic dogfight between one group of 4 and an entire mage company numbering 15. Normally a matchup like this would be impossible, but with Tanya alone capable of taking on 3 platoons solo, the entire fight amounted to nothing more than target practice for her. Her elite skills combined with that incredible aptitude for magic placed her well on her way to becoming an ace of aces. In fact, she was already known on the battlefield as a registered mage, a named adversary which was a privilege belonging solely to those who dominated the battlefield.
Also known as the fairy of the battlefield. Also something else
the
too.
moment the Republic realized they were
Devil
up
of
against
the
the
Rhine.
Devil of Rhine, they immediately understood that they'd come across a calamity. Like, even without considering her lethal maneuvers in aerial combat.
In the weirdest way, Calamity is it's putting it more lightly, surprisingly, with this character. It's you just walking into your own demise.
But her heavy mana spatial detonation and precision optical sniping formulas were abilities capable of devastating entire units before the battle had even started. That being the case, the named company she was facing would attempt to fight by engaging at a closer range, but Tanya would remain 4,000 feet above the limits of what they could even ascend to. She was operating at an altitude no normal mage could withstand no matter how amazing they were. But despite the idea that it was impossible, here Tanya was preparing the single attack that would end the battle in an instant, all while the Republic could do nothing but watch her do so. So, as she prepared herself for a spatial detonation of mana, she would also tell headquarters to send out a theater alert, which for those who are unaware of what that means is essentially a warning to all friendlies in the battlefield to prepare for how disruptive her explosion would be, something that not just any soldier was capable of. So, not only would her attack cut off communications and disable flight for all mages in a certain radius, but those caught within it were certain to die either from lack of oxygen or carbon.
Basically, it's a whole ass nuke if she activates her power to the fullest. And she does this, and technically in special occasions like certain events like that. And it's insane. First she prays, then she nukes.
Oxide poisoning. And even if they did somehow manage to survive both of those, anyone caught in the blast were sure to have collapsed lungs and eventually fall to their deaths from unsustainable flight formulas. It was a truly devastating attack that highlighted her superiority as a mage combatant. A flex that sets the stage for Tanya since she's shown to easily handle an entire company solo right from episode 1. One that I should remind you also shared that same privilege of being named. Okay, so we've covered a modern army versus a medieval one, a single Chunibyu versus the 2 strongest swordswomen in the world, then a little girl versus an entire company of battle-hardened mage soldiers. What that brings us to now
Yes,
is
Rimuru!
versus an army of 10,000. I wouldn't really call this a fight though, since the entire thing was over before anyone even realized what was happening.
Okay, before he gets into this, I'm going to say this. Yes, this scene, I do love the scene so much, but it could have been better. What do you mean it could have been better? I read the manga. I read the light novels. The scene is a lot gruesome than you think. A lot. And the point that, okay, why the midst of murking so many people, like before that, a little bit, like I said, about 2 minutes before Rimuru started murking people, there was this guy. Guy was like, he was regretting his decision being part of basically killing people from Tempest. But his war buddy saying, don't worry, they're not people anyway. They're monsters. They don't need to live. And he felt bad, but he did it because he wants to protect his family. Because basically, his kids is all he got. Literally. There's no one. Wife passed away. His kids is all he got. But he chose the wrong side. And let's just say 2 minutes later, when everybody was getting murked, he saw Rimuru. He begs that, please spare my children. And he said, I will spare your children. And though he called Rimuru a goddess, and still ended up getting murked. I mean, there was no saving. He was still going to get murked, but still, though, it's like, and it was just nothing but screams and horror.
So, as much as I'm sure this series needs no introduction, the scene I'm talking about is Rimuru's Demon Lord Awakening.
Mm-hmm.
A flex from episode 34 of That Time I Reincarnated as a Slime.
Make
If
it
you're one
up!
of the few that haven't seen this series yet, well, it's essentially a salaryman who reincarnates as an OP slime who then proceeds to establish their own nation of monsters. The reason Rimuru felt the need to flex on another nation's army was because that same army had just invaded Tempest. They had fabricated a false reason for which to start a conflict, then proceeded to attack the city while Rimuru was absent.
Mm-hmm.
So, with the city destroyed and numerous of his people dead, the only path to save them was by becoming a demon lord. Only by ascending to a whole new plane of power would it even be possible to resurrect the people he'd lost. The thing about such an evolution, though, was that the requirements for doing so were rather costly. At least 10,000 human souls were needed as sacrifice for it. That being the case, it was rather lucky then that an army he just so happened to despise was currently stationed right next to him. The invading force of 20,000 in which no single person was allowed to be spared.
Which is, his words was literally, before he started his attack, was y'all gonna be my food for my evolution. I'm like, y'all fucked up. Y'all fucked up. Y'all pissed off the one person you shouldn't have done, and y'all did it so stupid for a stupid reason.
If they were willing to declare war on an unsuspecting nation, then it was only fair that they be ready to die for that war.
Yep.
Since this wasn't even a war, though, the least they could do in reparation for their sins was enjoy the honor of helping Rimuru evolve into a demon lord.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Rimuru hovered over the unsuspecting army who'd just attacked him, he had prepared a new spell specifically for them. A brand new type of magic that went by the name of Megiddo. By using spirit magic to manipulate water elementals into the form of his choosing, he would create these lenses that gather the sun's light, then have that light concentrated into a single powerful laser beam, resulting in this endless barrage of solar-powered death rays that no one could even see or hear coming.
Mm-hmm.
He could be 6,000 miles away, and this devastating attack would still find its target in less than 1/20th of a second. So, with over 12 lenses deployed at the ready, Rimuru's first blast would slaughter 1,000. 5 minutes later, and that count had grown to over 10,000. He had descended on this army like the god of death and began a massacre no one anticipated or could even react to. What makes this flex fundamentally different from all the others, though, is that, unlike how the rest weren't entirely personal, Rimuru's was done with the intent to create despair and instill terror. He had intentionally avoided lethal blows on various soldiers, just so he could use their screams to add to the chaos. Whether it was dismembering limbs or maiming others, Rimuru wanted everyone to tremble in the wake of his destruction. He was so effective at doing so that much of the remaining army had just given up on trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
They had accepted that this was where they'd die, and in return Rimuru was given a new skill called Merciless. an ability that allowed him to reap the souls of any person who begged for mercy or just no longer had the will to fight.
Yeah.
So, not only did Rimuru create a new form of magic just to wipe out 20,000 troops as efficiently as possible, but he had also flexed on them so incredibly hard that the only thing they could do was accept their fate and wait their turn to die.
Yeah.
It was so devastating.
Here's the thing, it was a lot more devastating. Even when the meeting between him and the former king of Falmouth, a lot more terrifying. Which I wish they could have showed that in the anime, but
That even the world itself couldn't ignore it, resulting in the birth of a new skill that would help to kill them even faster. So, I don't know about you, but if the world itself acknowledges how OP your flex is, then I think that's grounds enough for it to be one of the biggest. But yeah, those are some of the biggest flexes in Isekai. I know there's several more out there that are probably even bigger, but really this was just an excuse to talk about some of my favorite anime. Shows that I don't usually get the chance to talk about otherwise. So, if you enjoyed this type of content and want to see more, then please do let me know down in the comments. Feel free to throw in some of your favorite flexes too. Now, before I go, I just want to say that we are close to 600,000 subs, so if you haven't already, then a sub right now would be really appreciated.
yeah, sub to the
Or
man.
if you want to support some other way, then you
I
can
need to
also
get that.
check
I
out
need
the
to-
Isekai-inspired desk mats that are still available for purchase.
I need to get that.
But anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching.
Alright. I need to get that desk mat, and if he has it, the Sucky Bay t-shirt. Oh, man. But anyway, I'm so happy I subscribed to this man's channel. It's another part that I need to do. He did a biggest flexes in Isekai 2 one, so I'm going to check that out whenever I can. But that being said, if you like any of this content, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Like, comment, and subscribe to Any News. I will leave the original video in the description down below so you can watch it uninterrupted. And what is y'all thoughts on biggest flexes in Isekai or anime in general? Not just Isekai, but biggest flexes in anime in general, like all the anime. What is y'all number one flex for animes in general? Leave that in the comments down below. And till next time, please take care of yourself. Stay hydrated because it's hot as hell. Till next time, peace out.